Hey, what's up, Military Millionaires? Today is another episode co-hosted by Alex Felice. Let me know down below if this is something you want to become a regular thing. Today's episode is with Eric Oden, who has been a longtime follower on Instagram. He and I talk quite a bit and had a ton of success after he went from the Army. He was in Desert Storm, and then he's been buying properties and more and more and more. He did 8 flips last year and 4 buy and holds, and he's just growing in Mobile, Alabama. This is an exciting episode, and as always, show notes are found at FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/podcast. Now relax and enjoy the show.
You're listening to the Military Millionaire Podcast, a show about real estate investing for the working class. Stay tuned as we explore ways to help you improve your finances, build wealth through real estate, and become a person that is worth knowing.
Hey guys, if you're looking to take your investing, business, life, or just yourself to the next level, then I have something for you. The War Room Real Estate Military Mastermind Group is a mastermind group that meets weekly in small groups of 5 to 6 people to help you hold yourself accountable and really experience that growth. But we also have a monthly guest speaker that we bring in, and we've had guest speakers that talk about mindfulness, taxes. We're bringing in somebody to talk about marketing. We bring in very specific topics that will adhere to very broad, any kind of real estate investing or entrepreneurship that you want to do, and will really help you out. And we let you ask these speakers questions and get very personal with them. And then back to the small groups, weekly accountability for what you're trying to achieve, and just being surrounded by like-minded people. And they say your network is your net worth. I know that's an overused phrase, but I recommend that you check it out. So just shoot an email to wrmastermind@gmail.com. Once again, that's wrmastermind@gmail.com, and we'll send you some more information.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dave and Alex from the Military Millionaire Podcast, and I'm here with Eric Oden, who's an Army Desert Storm vet. He's done, it sounds like, basically everything from some flipping to some buy and holds to, just a whole lot of different things. And really, we want to dig into that quickly. So Eric and I have been talking back and forth on Instagram for a while and finally decided it was time to get him on the podcast. Eric, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, good morning. Great to see you guys.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, Desert Storm vet, Vietnam, Desert Storm vet, Army vet. And I'm from Mobile, Alabama, down on the Alabama Gulf Coast. A lot of people don't know that we actually have beaches, but we do, 2 counties worth. I did a lot of corporate sales jobs for years after getting out of the Army, and eventually decided to want to take control of my own money and decisions. So I ventured out into real estate as a side hustle, and then took the plunge and went full time.
Was there any real estate experience you had while you're in, or did it come completely afterwards?
I had some accidentally, and I didn't really appreciate the experience at the time. When I got deployed, I had bought a house, and I did the thing they told you not to do. I got married as a private. So, as they said, if they wanted you to have a wife, they'd issued you one. But we bought a house, and I needed to rent it out while I was deployed. So I rented it out. And then when I got back, they were still renting it out. So I actually had to go rent another house while my house was being rented out. And I was turned off on it immediately because I got a $35 bill from my property manager for replacing a spring on the screen door. And when I say a spring on the screen door, I'm talking about your grandmother's screen door with an actual coil wire spring on it. And I'm like, $35, this is a ripoff. And then I got to the CPA and we did tax returns, and it was like, well, you get to write off painting your own house. I said, well, this is pretty cool. And that's the end of it. I moved back into that house and never thought about real estate again. So I didn't make the connection about how you could actually do this and make money or scale it and have holdings of multiple houses.
I like that only because so many people, they jump into real estate or they hear about real estate and they're like, I have to go all in. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily the only way. I think there's a lot of people, myself included, where you dabble into real estate and then you don't realize what it is till years later. That's how I was. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in 2005. And I didn't know. It's like it sat there and festered. It was stewing, but it didn't mean anything until 2016 when I was like, hey, look, ooh, passive income. Who knew? And so I love that story because it can give people encouragement. Like, look, if it's not working right now, that's okay. As long as you keep following the path. It's a long game, real estate.
Right. And we didn't have the support group like, like David's podcast back then to go, there was to even relate to other people. It was still only the rich guys had real estate or really older guys, a 20-year-old private or doesn't do that. And you're not running in those circles and you're not hanging out at the library to find the one real estate book they have.
That's very true. Yeah. If you don't know that you need to look for it, you're never going to find it.
Yeah. The internet can really, I love the internet so much. It really brings people together. This podcast is a good example of, two niches that overlap, military and real estate. And you're having people around to soundboard and just say, hey, just having somebody where like, oh, look, it's possible. If David can do it, I can do it. Right. If David can do it, my freaking Great Dane can do it. Like, it makes it seem very possible.
I discovered in my last podcast that I can mute him, and it's a wonderful discovery. I'm going to start just doing it. He's just going to be lip service. So, all right. So you got this house. So when and how did it finally click?
I had started out, in corporate America, doing low end sales and service jobs. And then working my way up and realized I was never really going to be able to achieve some of the money goals I had straight through my W-2. So I started some side hustles of my own, and I did the eBay flips and the garage sale digging like Gary Vee talks about a lot. In this area, you could maybe buy a RV trailer during the summer, and you could get it really cheap. But then wait until hunting season, and then you could sell it to some hunters and make some more money. And then we started doing some cars, and it was like, at some point it was like, I'm not going to go get a car lot. I got to scale this up. So with all the drive time, listening to podcasts and YouTube, it's like, why don't I look at the real estate at this point? And just did the matrix download while all the windshield time, listening to people's podcasts and going, okay, I think I got the vernacular down. I think I understand some of the terms. Now I need to apply my daytime sales networking skills to go out and meet these folks and try to go into some RIAs.
It is amazing how a little bit of immersion goes so far, and the technology really makes it possible. I myself underappreciate it sometimes, and you said it 20 years ago there was no internet board where you could go and just spend time talking to people who have already done it or make it seem possible. There was no Zillow where you could go and analyze deals from across the country. There was no Audible or podcasts yet, right? Like 20 years ago, it was not even Bluetooth in your car. 20 years ago, geez, it was nothing. So my point is like all these new technologies, it's like, it seems so prevalent now because we use them all the time, and they're almost mundane in how, they're everywhere. So you don't think anything of it. It's like, dude, if you're listening to Audible, or you're listening to Bigger Pockets, or you're listening to the Military Millionaire Podcast, like a little of that goes a long way in terms of, making you freaking deadly to make money.
Yeah, and I think your environment, is the next key then. So it's all available, but if no one in your circle is in that mindset, you're not going to think to reach out to those kind of resources.
No, absolutely correct. And that's sometimes we just need a nudge, right? A little bit of a nudge and the right networking can just be absolutely huge. And we've all got some pretty crazy stories about that, but I'd like to hear, like for you, since you kind of touched on it, how has networking really helped you out with building this real estate business?
Well, I think the key with networking is everyone's got to know what you do. If you just broadcast enough of what you're doing with real estate, some of the deals will just come to you. Like I've actually been in unrelated real estate and settings where I've said, hey, I'm looking to buy a rental. And somebody will go, I've got this house. We've been renting it out for years, but I never really meant to rent it out. I couldn't sell it at the time, and I'm done with it. Do you want it? And I'm like, well, let me see it. Let me check it out. And then before you know it, you've got an unintentional landlord unloading a house that he's become buddies with the tenant, and he hasn't raised their rent. So you're paying it off the current rent, but immediately it's almost like a turnkey rental income improvement once you start treating it like a business, to the point that that's how you pick up your subject twos from people, because they're like, hey, I understand the concept of getting money, but I don't want to go over and fix that toilet one more time.
It's amazing how just telling the world what you do, the right people find you. I love that. I love that. How have you used that to turn into, well, I know you do some flips as well, right? So what about contractors? Does networking help you find great contractors?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think contractors, like a lot of things, there's going to be referrals. I mean, look at the whole business model of Angie's List or just any online review. So if you go through the RIAs and, or anywhere you got other investors, you can start handing off some names. Typically, everybody's going to be maybe protective of their main guy, but if you don't do a pool at every flip, usually everybody's going to share their pool guy referral, or maybe their HVAC guy or something like that. I mean, all folks will share to a degree, but those are the easiest kind of names to pick up for contractors. And they also, when you pick up a contractor that way, they know the business model. They understand this is an investor, not a homeowner. So level of work, value, time schedules, pricing, you're not trying to introduce them to a new concept also.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty wise way to state that, because I know, when looking for contractors, it's a totally different mindset. So I have a friend, a really, really good contractor. He's amazing, but I can't really use him because he is just way too high end. There's no way that we don't overlap, because he does, he's like the guy doing custom exterior cedar work for like Bass Pro Resorts, and he's amazing, and he's rebuilt houses and they're incredible. But to use him on a flip doesn't work, because he's either undercutting his employees a ton on their normal labor costs, or I'm not a priority.
Yeah, and I've even seen a problem between Section 8 rehabbers and then starter home or mid-level flippers. You can't get them to transition. It's hard to get a contractor to do if they're it's like having a finished carpenter try to go out there and do, roofing or framing. That it's hard for them to gear down, and it's hard for the other ones to gear up.
I'm having this problem now. My contractor, I love him to pieces. He's my partner, but we mostly do lipstick rehabs. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not that we do big rehabs, but we usually build bulletproof rentals. And now I'm trying to transition to, mid-market flips, and the finish work it's like, I don't have a guy who can do that. I don't have a guy who can do this, or I do, but you're not going to like him, and this kind of thing. And it's a little bit of a growing process. And I love that you said that, because, so much of real estate is finding the right people for what you're trying to do. Especially this turns into experience. If you're new, you're going to find a contractor who's probably fairly new. You're not going to find, like David said, like, hey, the really great contractor, it's like, yeah, you can't afford him and he's not screwing around with you because you're new. And so finding the right people for you at the time and at the time you're at, and the experience level you're at, and what you're trying to do is incredibly important. And that's why it makes sense to have a big network. Yeah,
I call it fantasy football of contractors. It's like, okay, I got a pool guy, but now I need a plumber guy. Oh, but I need a plumber guy that'll transfer, or that will travel to this county, because where I'm at, we're on Mobile Bay. So Mobile County, Baldwin County are separated by the bay, and for whatever reason, that 7-mile bridge seems impassable for some people. So you're constantly trading off those names to build your team.
Is everything you do local to you?
Yes, right now, just in the 2 counties. That's the easiest thing. It's right now for it to be manageable for me. I would see doing a larger, maybe multifamily long distance, but I think at this point, our strength is right here in this area, and there's too many opportunities. There's too many opportunities for me to travel at this point.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're saying it works in your backyard, so go to the backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fun to think about, I'm going to go here and there, and I'm going to travel, I'm going to see this market. But at the same time, when you can flip in your own backyard and you can get close to the 2% rule on your buy and holds in your backyard, it's hard to justify why move.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So
what does OPMI flip mean? There's a whiteboard behind you that says #OPMI flip.
That's our hashtag that we use pretty consistently through all our social media. If you're trying to find us, it's easier just to say that, and you're gonna link to us on Instagram, or you're gonna find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, something like that.
What's it mean?
Oh, it stands for Oden Property Management and Investments, or
okay.
money investments, however you want to say it.
Which is ironically what I was going to say when I was rudely cut off by my co-host. No, I'm just kidding. I was going to ask about financing, because I know you mentioned before we started recording that you've done some very unique financing, and I was thinking that's what the hashtag meant, but clearly I'm wrong.
No, it's just us trying to develop our brand. But on the financing, yeah, we've tried different things, and like my wife, she's incredible, but she's like, who in the world is going to let you sign over on their terms on a subject to and give you the title? That sounds crazy. And then I think back, my personal story is I got foreclosed on when everyone else got foreclosed on in like 2010. And I was thinking, man, if somebody would come knock on my door, I mean, I'd gladly subject to this thing.
Interesting.
But when you come from that and you realize, how much this can help somebody, as long as you're not dealing with a scoundrel, it's like it totally makes sense. So when you told somebody like, hey, you're done with this, you're behind on your mortgage, I can get you out of this, and you've done a good job of building a track record and a reputation. And that's the other reason we try to be on social media, so people can find us easily and go, okay, they're the real deal, and they're actually going to take this house from what it is to what it needs to be and make it a home again. People will sign up for that. So we've been able to do one flip with a subject to, and also we have a current rental that's a subject to. We've also done on the finance side, I wanted to mention while it's kind of related, we had one owner finance from a landlord. The property had been in there 10 years, and it sounds like he hadn't checked on it in 10 years. It was his farthest away property, and he was getting older, and he didn't want to have to travel 35 miles every day to go check on the rehab. So we made a deal, and he held the note we talked it out, and he kind of wanted to help me get started. So he held the note. He gave me a 3% interest. I didn't owe him the first payment for 90 days. And we flipped it in 84 days. And he congratulated us on the work.
Wow.
I just love that. And to parlay it into what you said earlier about, your wife thinking that some deal may be crazy. And it's like, everybody has their own individual life experience that tells them what normal is and what crazy is or whatnot. But other people have a different experience, and what you think is crazy, they think, like you said, hey, look, I really need to get out of this house. I don't care about crazy. I care about getting out of this house, or whatever the case may be. And the other one that you said was, like this guy, he couldn't do it, but he was excited to have you do it. So you'd be surprised how many people, well, you're not surprised, but new people may be surprised how much, the next guy will help you out. Just, it just worked out that way.
And the answer is no until you ask.
Correct.
And the networking aspect of that is this landlord who owner financed it was, I'm going to try to get this right, was a friend of my friend's father at the hunting camp, who told him he was thinking about getting rid of it. So he told his son, who told me. I mean, it's strictly, so this is not a RIA, this is not some wholesaler list. This is just making sure everybody knows what you do and how you do it, and protecting that brand of your track record.
Yeah. If people know what you do, and the big one is, following through. Like if you go on social media and you tell everybody you're a real estate investor, somebody's going to bring you a deal, and then you need to close, right? If you can't close, then you're just, then you're just yapping. But if somebody says, if you go on the internet and you say, hey, I'm a real estate investor, I buy deals, and then somebody brings you one, you close, it's like, dude, your reputation in the community goes stratospheric, because now people will bring you more deals.
Absolutely. Real estate investing is tribal. I mean, everybody knows everybody, at least in the core group of the real estate investors. And you need to close. You need to make sure those wholesalers tell the other wholesalers, when they're all talking about it, it's like, no, he came, he got it done.
100%.
Yeah. That quote.
Yeah.
Writing that down. Real estate investing is tribal.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it too. When I moved to Las Vegas, I was like, in Fayetteville, there was not that many real estate investors, especially in 2017, 16. So when I moved to Las Vegas, I was like, oh man, it's going to be hot. I'm going to get lost in the mix. I don't have enough time to meet everybody, blah, 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 blah. And I think within 8 months, I had met like the core 30, like hot shot real estate investors in Las Vegas. And it's like, you meet everybody because, well, first they all hang out. Who else are you going to hang out with? And secondly, you start to develop a relationship real quick. It's like, don't go there on your mouth because everyone will talk, everyone will find out. And if you go there and you show up and you deliver, everyone will find out as well.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's kind of like what we were talking about on one of our other podcasts, Alex, and that is like you going out and telling everybody, Eric, is very similar to what you're doing on social media, right? Because the game of content isn't so much like just, hey, look at me talking about what I'm doing. It's you're letting the world know what you do and you're bringing people into your circle. And it's very similar to what you're doing by just making sure that you tell everyone about real estate. There's all these memes floating around about like so-and-so talking about football or whatever, me patiently waiting to tell them about how I invest in real estate, like trying to, and it's true. Like, I mean, and it's crazy some of the stuff that comes from just talking about it. You would never, who knows?
If your friends are not pulling you aside and going, listen, when you come over for the football party, when you're coming over for the Iron Bowl party, could you not bring up real estate? Until you get that pull aside conversation, you're not talking about it enough.
And to your point earlier about social media, I think it's important. You said something about, what you want people to know you're real. And I think there's a real big problem with social media right now is it's too easy. It just lends itself to fake so easily. You can go on there and you can repurpose somebody else's content and tell everybody how entrepreneurial you are and hustle and success is like this and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, but what have you done? Right. And it doesn't have to be a superstar story. It just has to be like, are you real? Did you really buy this house? And so more so, I think social media is useful. For me, it's been more useful, not just to, as a marketing tool, but like, hey, this is what I do. And this is really, really what I've done. And here it is, very transparently. And then people are like, oh, well, Alex is the real deal or Eric is the real deal. David. And so people will gravitate towards that, I think, very strongly. So like you said, you go in public, you tell people what you do, and then you deliver, and then you can do the same with social media.
Woo! We'll be back with the show in just a minute, but I wanted to take a brief second and say that, look, you are already obviously investing in yourself by listening to this podcast. But if you can't figure out how to get past all that daunting crap that you just don't know how to sort through, and you're trying to get started in real estate investing and you're just stuck, I mean, it happens to all of us. It's daunting. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know everything there is to know, and you don't know really where to find all the information. So that is why I created the Real Estate Investing for Beginners 0 to 1 course, which is solely designed to get you from I want to invest in real estate to holy crap, I have a rental and it's cash flowing. And this course is not going to be anything super complicated that you won't be able to understand. It is just designed to teach you how to build a team, find investments, finance investments, conduct due diligence, close on the investment, and then operate it so that you can enter the real estate investing world smoothly. So if that sounds like something that interests you, definitely check out the link below, and it's cheap as hell right now. Thanks for the shout out.
I don't know what I would do with all this, fancy co-hosting power if I didn't use it against you.
All right. So
how many deals are you doing? How many deals did you do in 2019?
In 19, we did 12. 8 of them flips, 4 buy and holds. Those are acquisitions on those. We carried a couple over into the new year that are on the market now.
And 8 flips. Is that more than you did in 2018?
It's probably double.
Okay. So, okay, good. So I love to see that. And I also love to see it in the face of a tightening market.
Yeah. We're trying to, now that we've done it and we have proof of concept, we're really working on systems now and going, okay, where's our bread and butter? We've tasted this and we've tasted that. We've tried a higher end flip and like, okay, now we see what goes on with that. And we're really now getting back to what works. Run the plays that work, as somebody said before. We're going to go with the median house price 3-2. And some advice that was given to me by the guy that got me started with my first deal, he says, buy in a neighborhood, stay in a neighborhood. Neighborhoods are proven that somebody will live there over and over again. And that may sound like common sense, but in our area, you can go rural real easy. And you can go, well, it's a great house, but it's out on a county road and da-da-da-da. Yes, somebody wants that house, but you don't want to play the lottery. You don't want to find the one guy. You want to find the 90% of the market that wants to buy there.
Yeah, I think that what you said is correct. Like, it sounds simple, but I think it bears repeating often. Actually, it's like, look, you're buying houses to sell houses, not to own houses. It's not a house collection business. It's a house sales business. And so I say all that to say, like, think of the end user first, right? Your job is not to flip a house to make you feel good or to make it look pretty or whatever. It's to deliver high quality product to an end user. And so the gig should be find the pool of the biggest end users that have the easiest way to purchase that. And so, like you said, 3-2, that's in the main part of town that everybody knows. It's like, hey, like, that one's going to sell. Design it in a way that, that will sell, freaking get it, flip it and move on.
Right. Yeah, we've tried hey, let's raise the ceiling and let's go with glass tiles, and that's fun. But it's not so much fun to watch it sit on the market.
Yeah.
But the one that we're having the most success right now, we've done 5 in the same neighborhood. So it's just proving like this is where we're marketing to now. We just sent out 10,000 mailers yesterday. And we're just gonna pound this one area, and we're just gonna own it. This is gonna be our office as far as we're concerned.
Good for you.
I love it. Doubling down where your numbers work, the whole 80-20 idea. And it's so true. People get wrapped up in making the house look like a Instagram before and after picture, or all kinds of crazy new trends they see online. But paying for a hood over a stove in your area might not be something that anybody cares about. Paying for, it's like the people who put granite countertops in a north side of town where, wooden countertops or whatever, or whatever that
Formica
crap. Yeah, there we go. Formica, it works fine, right? Like, why spend the extra tons of money if you're not getting anything back out of it, other than for the social media, which not worth it.
Well, like for us, we use our realtors for advice for those markets. When we do branch into different neighborhoods, we'll ask what the expectations are. And if you get the good realtors that can really partner and understand the concept, they'll steer you away from spending money you're not going to recoup. Like, we were going to scrape the ceiling on a 2,600 square foot house. We've got to have smooth ceiling. And he said, not in this neighborhood. It's the same money. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Check that off the box. That was $2,600 right to or not $2,600, but that was a week's worth of work and thousands of dollars that went right to the bottom line.
Let me ask you though, because I want to push back on that, because some of the upgrades that I've done in my carton flip, I've done them exactly what David said not to do. I did them specifically for the gram. And so I call this my value add. Now, obviously specifics matter. It's not my show, so I don't want to take a big time at it, but specifics matter on the deal. So I had the room in the deal to maybe over improve for what I call the value add metric of social media. So is there a value in saying, I'm going to design this, as long as you can still make it profitable? Like, where's the line, right? Like, hey, look, make it a little bit nicer because I can afford to, and I'll get some good social media traction out of it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you can sell the sizzle. I think you find balance where maybe it's not the entire house is HGTV, but maybe there's one facet to it. Maybe it's the master bath, maybe it's the back deck, barbecue area. But so I think you can do it so you've got that cherry on top and have some fun and have something that's worth taking a picture of versus another room. But you have fun with it, but your budget.
I'm a huge fan of doing the like the upgrade hack strategy David Green talks about, and I know that that's really not like, I don't know if that's really a coined phrase, but where my theory is, if I have to replace something, if there's a more efficient or a nicer model for a decent price, then I really only consider the difference in my cost. So for example, furnace is a huge one. I have a 10 unit, and every time a furnace goes out, because they're all 15, 20 years old. So I knew when I bought it, they were going to start going out. Every time it goes out, my property manager is like, hey, I can replace it for $1,800. And I'm like, okay, great. How much for the high efficiency model? Oh, well, that's an extra $200. Okay. So for $200, I can save, an extra $15 a month on my gas bill, right? To me, that's a huge killer move or whatever. But if I got to replace a light bulb, okay, go with an LED. If I got to replace, and so I like to look at things like that when I do renovation. Like if I have to replace the backsplash on something, okay, well, if it's only an extra $10 over what I would have to pay for the, normal one, damn straight, I'm going to go with the upgrade.
Well, a systems upgrade in a rental, I would look at it long-term like that and go, what's going to attract a better tenant, get a better rate, but also be better for the structure itself. Like for us, we're going to make sure that all the bathroom exhausts are actually duct outside, and that the hood over the stove is going to be vented to the outside to get the moistures and the greases out. Because that's an additional expense, but it's an investment in the property and it's a benefit to the tenant. But on a flip, I might put nice light fixtures in there and really make it pop, but I guarantee you I first went to Habitat for Humanity and bought it from the Restore and got one of their store returns. And, so I'm going to get my value, but I'm also going to put a little cherry on top for them.
Yeah, finding that blend. It's like one of them is like roofs. When you got to redo the roof, it's like get the 30-year architecturals, those kind of things.
100%.
Always, because it's like $450 on a $5,000 roof. But man, it's a world of difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just figuring out where to add the value. But where
Eric, what's the 2020 goal for? I'm curious about flipping specifically.
2020 goal for flipping really is the being focused on one particular market, on one particular house, and kind of like we were kind of going down is looking at it as the commodity, and stop looking for the creative project and just take ugly ducklings and make good homes for folks, and rinse and repeat.
Do you think that that's how do I say it? Do you think that that's a journey that every real estate investor or every business owner has to kind of go through, where when you're new, it's really exciting, and so you have all these ideas and these possibilities, and then you start to get through it and you're like, I don't have to fall in love with every house. Let's just make some money. And I don't mean that in a cynical way. I just mean like, do what works, is what you're saying. Do you think that's kind of a common thing that people go through?
Yeah, I definitely do. I know some very successful buy and holds that are just basically swearing off flips because they don't want to get into any more creative designs and that whole process where they're playing the long game. For us, we're flipping, and that's how we eat, that's how we buy groceries, but that's also how we build capital so we can invest it in buy and holds. Yeah.
I did the opposite. I did buy and hold for a while, and then I was like, oh, this is boring. And my retirement's set. Now what should I do?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix for all investors of the profitable versus the fun. I find it's amazing to me the amount of investors I find who are completely free and reached all their goals a long time ago and stick with it because it's just fun.
Yeah, I like the, like we're talking about the importance of networking and finding your deals. But then you can also, when you get to those points where you're getting more systematic and it's becoming more routine, you network also to add to the book of the game, and you meet with the newer guys and you try to give them some information because you try to remember how hard it was for you. And, and sometimes it even comes back to you immediately in a deal because then they get something that that's too big for them, or they need a JV, or they just want to wholesale it, but I think the biggest aspect, like I said, is you just got to reciprocate, and, the network's benefited you, you've got to benefit somebody else. You got to pay it forward.
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Kind of want to shift gears a little bit. Before we recorded, we talked about family buy-in a little bit, and I would love to hear some of your thoughts on how to help your family buy into this crazy idea of real estate investing, because I know that's a struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming from a sales background and only getting to eat what you kill, being a commission based, I think it already lends itself to being entrepreneurial and then doing the side hustles. But when you're going to a family that's they like the consistency, or that's the background they know, like their parents were always W-2 long-term salary employee people, and the way you retired was put it in a 401k and you just went to work. So you're like, I think the best thing to do is you got to have communication. You got to talk this out. You can't just surprise folks and get their buy-in. And I would suggest this for anybody that's really doing their first deal. Don't take on just a tiger of a project. Do something simple the first one, so it doesn't, it doesn't sink your ship. You don't want to get into something that could really, damage your financial situation, but also something that you can get a win. You need to get some momentum behind you and everybody have a good experience. So I would say if you're going to take on a fixer-upper, it needs to be a very light rehab and get some other opinions, get some eyes, maybe even get a home inspector. And that would be mine. I tell you, that's how I would baby step into it. Once you're committed, like us, we were looking to supplement for retirement. So I was like, okay, job's pretty good, but it's not going to quite get us where we need to. So let's go ahead and let's do one flip in a 3-2 great neighborhood, light rehab. And I tell you what, even though we're doing this for retirement, we're going to shave 10% of the profits off this flip and we're going to use it for a family vacation. The concept is, it's like we got a long-term goal, but we're going to get a little immediate, just a little immediate treat out of it. Because also, if you got kids involved, nobody's got patience. Nobody understands all that down the road stuff. So when we flipped the first one, we made $18,000, took $1,800. And for us, we went on a local vacation. We went up to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, had a great family vacation. Everybody saw us, like, because the kids were involved. The kids, they can't do anything, but they can trash out the house. So they dealt with all this stinky, nasty stuff and then throwing it in the truck, and we're bringing all our donationable stuff to Goodwill and all this. And it's like, and I get to, while we're sitting in Gatlinburg and watching the taffy machine and looking for bears, it's like, hey, you guys helped pay for this trip. So it's the first time they actually participated in, actually contributing to the family. So this is so long story short is, you want to do a light rehab, you want to have a win, and then have some kind of immediate reward that everybody shares in. And that's how you get things going.
Did people say yes on the first time you asked?
As far as the sellers?
No, friends and family.
No, it was a bit of kicking and screaming.
Well, and that's kind of what I was looking. I wanted to get at, because people, they get in this weird thing where they're afraid to ask to get the no, and I'm like, yeah, but asking in itself is a talent, right? You're selling essentially, and so I just wanted to add, it takes a bit of a process, and sometimes, for me, I had to win a few before anybody in my family would give. Well, my family knows me as the train wreck, so I had to really prove myself before they would participate with me. But I wanted to kind of put that out there. It's like, yeah, you should be able to leverage your immediate family friend network, but it is you have to prove it, maybe sometimes more so than a stranger, depending on your history. But the ask, putting proposals together, putting deals together, potential deals, asking, is a process in and of itself. But I'm glad that it worked out for you.
Yeah, I mean, the family, you've got history with them. They know you in a certain way. Sometimes they just remember you. They remember the high school you, and that's you. No matter what you do from there on, you're like, I've got a buddy. He's my CPA. But when you look at him, it's like, I can't believe people give you money, including me, because I know you. But here we all are.
That's how everybody is, well, I moved away when I was 18. So people, they really remember me as 18. They're like, Alex buys houses there. Are you serious? That guy, no, I don't think so. He must be. And so, but I think it's interesting you said that. I think that's how a lot of the world is, right? If you went and you saw behind closed doors of a lot of successful people, you're like, I can't believe that this works. I can't believe that I can pull this off.
There was a weird afroed stoner looking high school kid who was homeschooled and had no social skills running the podcast.
So
shut up. I'm going to unmute you before. There we go. Alex is muted for the next few seconds until he decides he's going to play nice. No. Oh man. So Eric, what's next?
What's next? We're going to focus on the flips in the concentrated areas. We are looking at, first multifamily deals. started those conversations with a couple sellers that I think are going to happen. We actually had put a large mobile home park under contract, but there was a lot of park-owned homes that needed a lot of work, and the park was overvalued, so we had to pull on that one after due diligence. But basically, just increase networking and focus on the business. Roberta, my wife, she's been handling all the social media, and she's really stepped up her game there. It's some neat video production quality. So I'm just looking forward to a really neat year and just fine tuning those systems and processes.
Eric, do you guys are you going to any conferences, real estate conferences?
Well, we went to Bigger Pockets last year. Looking at going to New Orleans. That one's a 2-hour drive for us, so we'll probably go to that one. I was looking at doing a multifamily one, but I don't have any recommendations for any that I really want to go to. So, but yeah,
Mid-Atlantic. I think I'm gonna go to Mid-Atlantic in September. I think it's September. That'll be in like New Jersey or something. Best Ever Conference, but Best Ever Conference is the multifamily conference, but that's in like 12 days.
Right. Yeah. And I just don't know enough about the conferences to know if to get the value back.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, I'm kind of wanting to, if I could do more local networking or just meet with more folks that were doing it, I'd probably, that would be at the top of my list.
Just curious.
Right on. Well, there's a few questions I always ask. And one of them is if an E1, E2, or just a youngster was to walk up to you asking you for advice on real estate investing, what would be your best pointer?
I would say, make sure your personal budget is in line, and audit your circle, and make sure you've got some guys that are motivated. If like me, it was so easy just to fall into, the club rat scene. Everybody from the barracks pile up and go to City Lights, I think it was, or City Limits out at Fort Hood, Texas, in Killeen. Are you familiar with Fort Hood? Have you heard about it?
No, but it's the same at every base, right? I mean, I know what you're saying, and I fell into that same trap. So
yeah. So I would tell the guys, just find those groups. Obviously, it's easier to network now to find the motivated group of folks, and do that. Take look at your classes that you can take on your off time, and find those people that you can get in line with, and just educate yourself. Read, podcast, audio.
Yeah, I guarantee you that there's a guy or gal who's listening to this podcast at every military installation across the country. So if you're sitting there going, oh, I'm in such and such base and I need to find a peer that wants to do this, I guarantee you that there's two people that need to find each other that are listening on the same base that listen to this show right now. So like you said, the internet's so easy to find your people. And then when you get two people together that are like, hey, look, we don't want to go out spending all our money on booze and girls, we want to buy some real estate. It's a lot easier to have that feedback mechanism.
And
absolutely. I mean, we're asking each other about the deals, like, hey, how'd that thing go yesterday? And yeah, I mean, you've got something going. I mean, it was the same way when I was competing for promotions. There was another E4 that me and him would like, hey, where are you at? Did you get that test done that got you the scores? Did you do this, do that? You got to find those other guys, and and just iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. I like that.
Yeah, that's solid advice. If you can get around those people. And shameless plug, you should just post in the Facebook group, and you'll be able to find those people. So,
I wonder if you can get one of those interactive maps for your website, Dave, where you could get people to plug where they are. And so you could then say, hey, if you come to my website, it's like I find all the guys that are stationed at this base, and you can make that little circle.
I will find out, because that would be cool. I'm going to be like the off-brand Bigger Pockets for military dudes.
I bet you, yeah, for sure. I bet you Patrick could design that for you too. Or at least just a list.
Well, I think like David, if you take your group and like Bill Allen takes his group, and we really focus on a military meetup, even that could happen. We'll
talk after the recording's done. What is one resource, book, course, website that you would recommend to anyone getting started in real estate investing?
Well, I mean, down and dirty basics that everybody could understand is I'd probably look at Jay Scott's books on rehabbing houses and flipping houses, just to get an understanding of what the numbers look when it comes down to, actually dealing with the sticks and the bricks.
I like
I'm named in the acknowledgement section of that book, by the way.
I'll get you to sign it next time I see you.
The long pause there was representative of how much everybody cares.
Well, that's why I have to say it. Nobody else cares. That's why I have to say it.
No, that's cool, man. I didn't actually know that. I've got it sitting up here. I'm gonna go look so I can cross that part of the book
The
out.
second edition, I think I'm in.
I got first edition. So, no, I'm just kidding. So you weren't good enough for the first rendition, huh? Or maybe the book wasn't good enough and they had to add you. That's
Right. They're like, yeah, that's right. I had to redo it with me in it.
Oh man. Awesome. Eric, where can people get a hold of you?
If they'll put in hashtag OPMyFlip, they can find us on any of the social medias. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. Feel free to DM me if I can help you out, or you want to bounce an idea off. Be glad to do it.
I really like the fact that your easiest way to contact you is a hashtag. Like that's cool. I have hashtags, but I am not as good about it as that. That's smart.
I was gonna say the same thing. I do I have my own hashtags that I kind of trend, but not like you've done. And I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, that's really cool. Smart.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, Eric, thanks for joining us today. This has been awesome.
Hey, it's been a truly honor, and I really appreciate you letting basically me be on the first podcast is a podcast like this. I love the fact some veterans like us could get together and talk about some things like this that live on beyond our military careers.
Absolutely.
Oh, before we close the show, I just have to say, I just noticed this. Your clock behind you is 24-hour, like a regular clock. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, I found that at a vintage shop.
I don't think I've ever seen that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so you got to wonder where it came from. Maybe it was at NASA. Who knows?
Thank you for listening to another episode about my journey from military to millionaire. If you liked it, be sure to visit FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/podcast to subscribe to future podcasts. While you're there, we'd love for you to rate the show, give us a review on iTunes. Now get out there and take action.